Along southeastern Connecticut's shores, saltwater marshes stretch between land and sea. They shield towns from storms, shelter wildlife, and teach us a thing or two about perseverance. But with rising seas and armored shorelines, these habitats have nowhere else to retreat. What happens to these salt marshes and what we learn from them will shape the future of our coasts and of us. Here in Stonington, two marshes and the people who care for them tell a story, one of restoration and the other, resilience. The Dodge Paddock Beal Preserve tells the story of damage and renewal. In 2012, Superstorm Sandy tore through this wetland, pushing it to the edge of collapse.
This place was devastated. So there's a seawall back there. The seawall broke in, the water came in, the walls broke down, and this place was devastated. So when Sandy came in, it came in pretty much straight off the ocean, knocked down the seawalls over there, pushed sand up into big berms, flooded the paddock with as much as like 4 or 5 feet of water. That whole place was full. And at this point, too, it was all full of Phragmites. So it wasn't even a healthy, functioning salt marsh at that point.
Phragmites are invasive plants that overrun wetlands and strip away biodiversity. In 2016, Mystic Aquarium, Avalonia Land Conservancy, and local residents removed invasive reeds and replanted native grasses, restoring this marsh back to health.
Protecting anything along the shoreline is essential, partially because you don't want to build on it because it's going to get devastated anyway, partly as that buffer against those big damaging storms and things. And it's also the last outpost of coastal habitat. I think because Barn Island has been protected and is so big and is so resilient, it has been an example of what the coastal salt marsh really can be. And I'm not saying it hasn't needed restoration. The restorations that they've done have been very different than what we had to do here. So here it was intense, get rid of the Phragmites. Here it was intense, open it up so the water can drain. And we had neighbors we had to take care of. And that's a really big thing.
So when you look at a marsh, you might think that there's not much there, but as you begin to explore, I would say it's just like a person. There's just so many layers that you're going to find.
Just down the road, Barn Island shows what's still possible. More than 1,000 acres of thriving marsh reaching toward the Long Island Sound. For over a decade, Mystic Aquarium has brought students here to clean, study, and learn. Too often, marshes are still dismissed as smelly or mosquito-ridden. In reality, they're among the most productive ecosystems on Earth.
I think that one of the most important things we can do is sort of destigmatize the idea of a marsh. There's a lot of negative connotations. They're breeding grounds for mosquitoes and they're dirty and they smell because of the sulfur. I mean, even like myths where you have like swamp monster and stuff. So how do you get people to see the beauty in it? I think when we get to actually talk to kids and show them, say, what are some of the animals that they might find? What actually is this doing for us? When we can actually get that across, that's where the change really is. And that's the most important thing I think I can do.
So salt marshes are the unsung hero. So when you're walking through when it's low tide, it might tickle your legs. You might see some bugs jumping up, but it's perfect place for people to truly understand the benefit that the environment can give us. So for me, a salt marsh is just the perfect place for students to understand what this entire ecosystem is and truly experience a food chain and just a foot of land.
Barn Island has become a living classroom, where students discover food webs under their feet, birds overhead, and about their role in protecting these coastal ecosystems.
Salt marshes should be at the top of our list, and for a number of reasons. So you look at this marsh behind me, and it's a natural filtration system. So if you were to take a look on a map, you're going to see a lot of hard space. So you're going to see roads, you're going to see driveways. And as we have runoff, we think about our cars on the roads, and as they're dropping off oil, we think about people washing their cars on the road, all of that stuff. As we have the rain that comes right on through, because this marsh underneath is basically like a giant sponge, with all of that water, it's going to be filtering through.
They also capture carbon in their roots and soils for centuries. The science is clear. The more saltwater marshes we protect, the greater their impact on our atmosphere, our coastal communities, and our future. In New England, salt marshes build upward only millimeters at a time, but seas are rising nearly twice as fast. With no room to migrate, many face marsh retreat. Still, these grassy ecosystems endure, and in that endurance lies a lesson for us too. So, I asked each steward here, if marshes were teachers, what would their number one lesson be?
If marshes were teachers, their number one lesson would be never judge a book by its cover.
I think the marsh would definitely have some of those lessons on impermanence, on moving and moving forward.
Whether it's a marsh, whether it's a beach, whether it's just something that you're afraid to do, never be afraid to explore a new place or a new possibility, because sometimes you might find something brand new and exciting that'll help you to change your life.
You can get bumped and buffered and hammered, and yet they are resilient. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us. So that to me might be the salt marsh lesson.
In their quiet endurance, marshes teach us how to restore, adapt, and thrive. The only question left is whether we're willing to listen and to learn.